Jack Leary here. Entering your perimeter. Do you copy? Solis is locked down.
Well, there goes your power theory.
Why would it be in lockdown?
System damage? Dare I suggest more weather damage?
Yeah, maybe, but lockdown seems extreme.
Is there no sign of security?
No, they must be done for the night.
Fort Solis almost feels like a trick. It looks a lot like Dead Space or Callisto Protocol, and if you look at the comments and various trailers posted on YouTube, you see a lot of people saying stuff like, looks great, can't wait to see the gameplay. And little do they know what they're seeing is the gameplay. You play as Jack Leary, a space engineer brought to Fort Solis on Mars, who finds himself traveling through the space base trying to figure out what happened to the space people living there. Unfortunately for the player, the game reveals its secrets about 5 minutes in, as you start finding audio and video logs talking about how the crew is acting really strange, and it's probably the fault of this compound being developed on site. FYI, the compound may not be being developed completely legally, and that wouldn't be an issue in and of itself if the game presented an interesting world with characters and environments you'd want to learn more about. But it doesn't do any of that. The gameplay loop involves going into an area, finding a power cell, finding the door that needs it, and solving very light puzzles generally based around button timing. There are quick time events that don't actually seem to influence what happens, and only seem to be included because otherwise there wouldn't be much game to this game. The quick time events annoyed the hell out of me during action sequences because they aren't noticeable, and half the time I didn't even see them on screen until it was too late. And I don't know what would be more frustrating, the fact that they have no impact on the game, or if the game had crappy button prompts and just game overed you for failing them. It also doesn't help that Jack's demeanor is so bored that it made me bored and frustrated by proxy. Jack walks at a snail's pace in the game no matter what is happening on screen, and there's no option to speed him up. While the map is relatively small by normal game standards, it takes forever to go through at your light walk, making every time you go into the wrong area that much more frustrating. The on-screen map is awful to use and is way too tiny, and your character and objective markers don't help, assuming they work at all. And for the record, some of my most memorable games are walking simulators. I'm not dissing on the genre, and this isn't one of those "they're not real games" rants. Some of my favorite games are titles like Firewatch, What Remains of Edith Finch, To the Moon, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which I would argue is a walking simulator, and more. But because you have little gameplay, the genre relies almost entirely on engaging the player with characters and the world. A lot of times they force players to confront some uncomfortable feelings, and yeah, a lot of times it's just depression simulators. Fort Solis's only available trick is to try to make you care about the characters, and in my opinion, it fails on that regard. Fort Solis is normally about $25, and there's no reason to buy it, as the game barely justifies playing through once. Actually, I can't really recommend it as a rental either, unless you've literally played every single other game on the PS5 and are jonesing for something else. It's obviously the work of passion by the development team and voice actors, but we all know you have a backlog that could stack up to the sun, and there's no reason for this one to wiggle its way into line. Like and subscribe for more of these videos. And if you've played Fort Solis, let me know if you think I'm wrong.
It's a funny thing, really. You are so preoccupied with whether you could. You never stop to think